When you found out, you just did a sit down with Rudy Gobert 2 weeks ago. When you found out that he had the coronavirus, was it immediately after that you assumed that the NBA would be suspending its play, or did that kind of happen at different times?
Yeah, there's no question. The moment one player gets it, it was a shutdown period for the whole league. And Pat, you did your homework. I was just with him at All-Star Weekend. Literally, he had his warm up, his uniform on for the All-Star game on Sunday. He warms up, and then literally 50 minutes before the game at 7 p.m. in Chicago, he comes up to our studio setup and does a sit down. When we had our studio set up at the United Center for Stadium, and it's surreal to think about just 3 weeks later where we stand in the NBA. Him being the first player to test positive. Now Donovan Mitchell is the second positive test out of 50. As I just reported, out of 58 tests administered last night by the Utah Jazz for their players, for personnel, he was the only one, Donovan Mitchell was, to test positive. And so, this has just spread. The outbreak that this has turned into has been remarkable. The panic that's coming with it has been remarkable as well. But there's no question, Pat, to answer your initial question, the moment, I found out last night that Rudy Gobert tested positive, you need to make sure you're accurate. You need to make sure you're correct on it. You can't be wrong on a story that, this isn't a sign, this isn't a trade, this isn't, even a, torn meniscus injury. This is something way more serious. And so the moment that happened, the NBA, I knew was going to shut down indefinitely.
Well, the ripple effect from that was, okay, now one of the biggest sports leagues in the world is suspending play. Before we get to how long you expect this to potentially happen, we heard Mark Cuban this morning on Get Up talk about how there'll probably be 7-game regular season, then they'll go into playoffs. They're thinking that it's potentially going to go into August. But the matter of fact is nobody has a single clue. But before we get back to that, are Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert close friends? Would they be the most in contact with each other? Is that why he potentially got it and none of the other 58 people that were tested? Well, hello there. Utilize the promo code Pay the Bills and get $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Now, back to the magic.
Yeah, I'm told Donovan Mitchell spent the last day or so, close with Rudy Gobert. Sat next to him on the team flight, I was told. Sat next to him on the team bus, team buses yesterday. So, and Tuesday. So there's no question that, they've been in closer contact than probably any other Jazz player personnel over the last couple of days.
I thank you very much for your time. I know you're incredibly busy today. Congratulations, by the way, at being very good at your job. Before we let you go, can we ask how long do you expect and what are you hearing for the timeline on this suspension? Given what Mark Cuban said earlier, given with everything that you know and the knowledge and the insiders you've been talking to, how long is the NBA expecting this suspension to go? Because this is unprecedented.
This is unprecedented. And, I would just be really educatedly guessing about whatever timetable I throw out there. The NBA has no idea when they're going to resume play, but in speaking with teams, owners, GMs, presidents, I think, the 2 to 3 to 4 week mark at a very bare minimum it has been in their minds, as soon as really 3 to 4 weeks maybe. But, the fear, could be that this lasts into 6+ weeks. And so, with this, you just don't know how fluid this becomes. What Mark Cuban, I think team owners even have reiterated this since last night is that we want to make sure this situation is resolved 100% before resuming play.
Yeah, nobody wants to be responsible for somebody getting the coronavirus and then somebody passing away. That's the world we're in right now. What will the players do during this 3, 4, 5, 6 week break? Will they still practice? How will this get along? Because if they're not going to be around, how does this work?
I think for the next several days, teams are administering self-quarantine strategies. The Toronto Raptors, I was told last night, were told to stay away from anything, essentially stay at home in self-quarantine for the next 14 days. So that's 2 weeks right there that one NBA team is telling its entire roster to not show up to anything, not do anything. So
are they shooting on
really the only time?
Will they be shooting for the guys that don't have basketball courts in their house? Will they just be practicing with garbage can shams? How do you think they're going to stay at the top of their? How's this work?
And that's why you're going to need. It's not just going to be a 2 week quarantine period and then you can resume play. These guys are going to need to get ramped back up. Maybe 1 week of training. I think a lot of things are up in the air.